All right. Welcome back to Wild Warrior Nutrition, everyone. Today, our friend Anthony Eisenhower from Brood9 Martial Arts has been kind enough to join us. Anthony is the head coach of Brood9, as I mentioned. He holds many certificates in fitness and nutrition. And in fact, I also think he was a stuntman and part of the
Good.
Power Rangers at one point, right?
That's
So
right. Yeah.
I don't know if I missed anything. If you want to add to any of that, Anthony.
Uh, no, I mean, yeah, I was a stuntman for a long time, but that's one of the things I got known for was being the Blue Power Ranger on Power Rangers in Space. Um, did stunts for like Alias, Dark Angel, a bunch of shows like that, and then also competed in full contact martial arts or into for a long time. MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing, pancration, as well as just been wrestling and doing martial arts most of my life.
For those that have been following us for the last few years, you probably have also seen articles written by Anthony on our old Awake and Alive website, MadFit magazine, My Mad Methods. I think you've even contributed to on it on an occasion or
Yeah.
two. Yeah, so there's a lot of information out there put out there by Anthony. You can check it out. If you like Muay Thai videos, you can also follow him on Brood9 Martial Arts. That's my favorite. So I did Muay Thai 6 years, Muay Thai and American style boxing for a while. And then when I had my first son, my wife asked me to stop because she didn't like me kind of punch drunk all the time. So,
That makes sense. That's what happens to a lot of our students things and
well, they're
everything.
jumping and slower, but yeah, at some point I get back into it. But the reason we wanted to talk to you, obviously, is about your new book. But first, I was kind of interested to know how you guys survived through COVID, being in California, and how you've kept all your fighters motivated and in shape through all that.
I tell you, yeah, it's definitely been a difficult time. I know it's been a difficult time for everyone and everything too, and it's super difficult, especially for our fighters. I mean, our students in general. During the very first lockdown, we changed everything over to Zoom, did online stuff for a while, and we still came to the gym. Myself, a couple coaches, I'd say at least 3 to 4 days a week, just to at least do Zoom and do one-on-ones with people. And then I allowed a couple of our fighters just they didn't really know what else to do. They could do Zoom, but a lot of them don't have space or anything too. So I was like, hey, if you want to come here and help me teach these Zoom classes, and we recorded a huge amount of content, I go, then you're going to get one-on-one training and everything too. So if you like took me up on that offer and everything too, so they got a lot of training that way and a lot of one-on-one stuff. So that kind of helped kept them motivated and improving, and they saw that just a huge improvement for a while. And then when you're able to open back up, just to keep them going more and more, did a lot more of one-on-one with them. We added, more sparring stuff and everything too, since it was about, I think, over a year until I think it was like a 14 months until the first small competitions were even heard about here in Southern California. They're just now even fully coming back to it. So, the just getting them motivated to just train, keep up their craft and everything too. It was difficult all the time, and just kind of being there for them as much as I could
Yeah.
helped. And then, and just say like, there will be coming back and everything too. And we thought we did some like in other states, but even that took a long time to get to.
Yeah, I bet the lack of sparring probably takes a lot of toll off their skill level. I mean, you can only do so much with mitts and you know some of the contact stuff with you. There's no substitute
Yeah.
for that. action.
No,
But
absolutely. It definitely did. And with some of them, it just really made them, for at least a good like 3, 4 months, just focus on pure conditioning and technique.
yeah.
And that's basically what we did for a long time. So that got improved vastly and everything too. And once we were able to get back to sparring and back to that stuff, it greatly helped and everything too. And so
Are you guys allowed to have crowds at your fights now, or are you limited to just basically the athletes and their coaches?
no, we are. We've done a couple now that have had crowds, but I don't know. It keeps changing all the time. So, as of right now, we are able to have crowds. We have a guy making his kickboxing debut next Friday, and that's actually completely sold out as well. And I know a lot of WCK was last weekend, and that was the first kind of Muay Thai fights back in Southern California, and that got sold out like that as well. And so we are able to have the crowds, but I know that they're not as big of venues as before.
Yeah,
Some are they're not doing as many seats, so they're getting sold out fast,
yeah,
which
sweet.
is good,
Yeah.
but it also makes sense because people want to see them.
Oh yeah, I make sure that for the fight fan that hasn't been able to see anything for forever, I'm sure it's huge.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
any of the sports here are starting to like sell out like mad. I mean, we had, when the first day they let the Dodgers actually have a full size crowd in there. I think they had like 52,000 people there,
uh,
and it was like the most they'd ever had at a Dodgers game.
oh, I'm not surprised. We went to a Miami Marlins game back in June, and they weren't allowing anybody. Every row was only allowed 5 people. The
Oh
rest
wow.
of them were zip tied, and then I saw that when they relaxed that, it filled up. I mean, people are just starved to get out and do anything. And then now it's a little disappointing that there's flare ups around the country and talk of returning to the way it was 6 8 months ago. It's just we're all still just trying to survive. I mean, we've transitioned to work from home. um I during the pandemic, gyms were closed. I bought a sauna and fitness and adjust to life here, and been doing it here. I mean, it's just what we have to do until there's a
Yeah.
clear green light that things are past us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyways, man, the reason we wanted to have you on was to talk about your book, get, and then talk about diet and philosophy. So I don't know if you maybe want to just start with what, inspired you to write a book and what the book's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we've actually been working on for some years. And it originally was kind of built to help our students out, just getting information out there and helping with, because that's one of the biggest questions we get asked all the time, whether, it's a regular student, whether it's a fighter, whether it's, anyone coming in here, it's always about nutrition, what can I eat, everything too. And after not just the certifications and study, but testing on myself and other clients and people, we just kind of started, putting things together. Started out kind of with blogs and articles and a lot of just FAQ stuff, and then we actually, we're looking some years back. We're looking for just something to give our students, and we found something from Vanderbilt University that they had given to all their student athletes. It was really interesting. It's very, it's like a PDF thing and a lot of good information in there. So we kind of piggybacked on that a little bit, like this, like with doing that. It's like, well, okay, this is pretty good for their stuff, but we're not really going to just give this one to our students. And so just kind of gave us the idea to start building it up ourselves. And so I think it's kind of something that maybe every 3 to 4 months would work on a little bit here or there. I'd write a blog and be like, oh, that might be good for this. And I'll put it in this Word document and everything. And then, pandemic happens. So kind of stuck at home, we weren't doing as much for classes and things like that. And so it was like, well, all right, let me focus on this. And what went from being probably about a 60, 70 page thing, went to 182 pages in a pretty short amount of time on there. And it kind of just kicked me in the butt to do that. And at first, again, thinking of our students, but then also had a lot of other people really interested in it. And so decided to actually work on a design for it too. Since it wasn't really designed at first, it was still a Word document all written out. As I'm sure most all books do. And I'm not a designer, so I didn't go from that and just started seeing what we could do, and it's something we always push forward and not necessarily diet, but we'll get into that, the nutrition and stuff itself, but always push. And so now it was like, well, let's see something I can get out there in the world.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations. It's a huge accomplishment to put anything like that together. I think COVID's a great time to explore new projects. A lot of us were forced to do things like that just to keep our sanity. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So I guess what is your overall diet philosophy?
So it is kind of explained in the book and everything too. My diet philosophy, it's all about, just overall nutrition and wellness.
Mm.
I'm not a big I've tried every single diet that's out there, just because people ask me all the time, and I don't like to give my opinions on something that I have never done
Mhm.
whatsoever. Keto, paleo, vegetarian. I mean, all these different lifestyles or different things people are doing. I'm not going to make a judgment on it if I've never done it myself. So I've pretty much tried every single thing out there on myself, or and especially Coach Dimitri here and everything too, and we do a lot of it together on that. And it kind of based from that is just what we've kind of found works best for us and works best for full, people, is just having a good overall nutrition base.
Mhm.
Eating real food, eating, not tracking your calories so much as tracking what you're eating and roughly how much
Mhm.
on there. And I've been doing that probably for the past 3, 4 years, and I've had some of the best health that I've ever had in my life. And I'm, 43 right now. So, um, and that's
Do
kind of
you
what we do in the book and everything too.
do you use an app to track what you eat, or a journal, or just mental?
A lot of it's mental. I have used journals and everything too. I am awful at apps. I would tell people all the time, even though I was in IT forever, I am awful at using apps because I just get bored of doing it. I don't know why. So I use food journals.
Mhm.
I've done that before, and we definitely, with a lot of our clients and a lot of the students and everything too, we have them. That's how we have them start until you get a base.
Mhm.
Once you get a base, to me, you don't really need to,
Yeah.
because I mean, you just know. Like, okay, I know what my plate should look like. I know what I should be putting on there. Anyone that, and you explain in the book too, is I love the people that always come to me and be like, "Well, I don't know what to eat." I go, "Well, that's not true. It's just not. You know what to eat. You just need the kick in the pants to do it. You may not
Yep.
know how much or things like that, and that's stuff we can help with. But there's not one person out there that doesn't know that McDonald's is not healthy.
Sure.
You know, they don't support that. Like, oh, I shouldn't go to Taco Bell every day. No one really believes that, or if they do, that's a whole different scenario going on.
Yeah.
But
Just the work, right?
yeah,
They know what to do. It's just like working out. You gotta put some effort into it and going and shopping, buying the right stuff. It's not like it takes hours of preparation. It just takes conscious effort for the most part.
it does. It's is it easy? Not necessarily. Yeah, it can be if you make it that way, but and a big thing we explain too in the book and my nutrition is, hey, uh, you know, so like, oh, it's Friday night. I had a pint of ice cream. It's like, okay, and then somebody said, like, I had that, so I need to like work out extra. I'm like, no,
Mhm.
live your life. Now, don't go crazy, but look, if you had it, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not every day. What's the like 80-20,
Yeah,
flexibility, everything in moderation, including moderation. And
exactly.
yeah, that's the way I do with my workouts. I keep a journal, but I also keep a mental log of, okay, what have I been doing for the last 3 or 4 days?
Mhm.
If I done much for the last 3 or 4 days, I'll get a bike ride and an extra workout in. If I've done a lot, then I know I have some flexibility to skip a day. It's
Yeah,
kind of like the thing with diet. If you've eaten like crap for a few days, maybe you cut back fast for a day, cut back to 2 meals, or eat a salad, and it'll all balance out. But
yeah,
obsessing over getting all what I don't know what they call it, like guilt, getting a
yeah.
bunch of diet guilt over is probably not a healthy thing to have.
No, no, that's been my philosophy for a while and everything too. And like I said, I've been the healthiest that I have in years and years. I do living that way and everything too. And that's why even our book, people ask about it and stuff. I'm like, it's not a diet book. It's not we call it a guide. It's because
Mm.
that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
Is this something that you should follow exactly? No, no
Yeah.
diet book is.
Yep.
No nutrition book is. This is a guide. It's there to help you, but it's still your life.
Yeah, and I'll just put this out there because I know YouTube is watching us. Anthony and I are not medical doctors. We're not registered dietitians. So make sure none of this is construed as advice. Make sure you talk to your doctor, but
Yeah.
protect ourselves there. But so what do you eat, Anthony, and what don't you eat? And what do you just completely shy away from?
I mean the stuff I completely shy away from is I don't drink any kind of sodas. I don't drink really anything like that. I stick to pretty much all water. I mean, I do have like a cup of coffee in the morning, maybe like a pre-workout or something like that, and that's pretty much about it. Um, for the eating wise, I mean, I'm pretty bland with my regular eating on there. I eat usually 3 to 4 times a day, depending on there. I always have mostly veggies on every single meal, some type. Some type of protein, and then usually a good amount of carbohydrates on there with how much I train and how much too. I keep track all that. I try to stick, sugars and things like that. I try to keep down. I can't say I never eat them because obviously I do, and I love ice cream, so I'm not going to cut that out forever.
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
but I'd say the only things I really don't. I really try to steer clear of fast food
Hmm.
out that, and it's not just because of the unhealthiness on there, it's the cost.
Yeah.
It sounds all good, like, hey, this is the dollar menu, or if this is only $5, things like that, but that builds up super fast.
Yeah, I mean, it
You know?
sounds convenient, and when you go to the menu, the value menu looks cheap, but you could buy 3 or 4 days worth of food for what, one round of Taco Bell cost. You
Mhm.
could chicken breasts and, a whole bag of vegetables for what
Yeah,
you mm, yeah, it
yeah,
adds a fa
yeah, it's a huge amount, and especially with, like, the pandemic happening and things like that, it's like you gotta cut costs, you gotta figure out stuff like that too, and just be more smart about things. I don't, I never go out for coffee or things like that. I mean, yeah, like, I didn't say never, I'd say 90% of the time I don't unless it's, like, with people. I'd
yeah.
rather just make it here, so with that, because that's a huge cost right there. I mean, living in California, every single place you go, it's about $5 for a cup of coffee.
Oh, that's my biggest vice. I couldn't live without coffee. I do it mostly at home, but,
Yeah.
uh, we go out quite a bit for it if we don't wash the pot or something, but
Yeah.
so how does the nutrition differ for an athlete versus an average person? I'm sure that the caloric intake
Mhm.
for is probably a lot higher than that of an average person. So what kind of how's your advice differ there?
The advice is it really is. It's the caloric value, and I may for a normal person, maybe let's just say if we're gonna go calorie wise, maybe your daily is like 2,000 calories. Let's just say you know, but it's 2,000 good calories, vegetables, things like that. Whereas one of our fighters in our two is roughly around 25 to 3,000. The biggest differences are a little bit more carbohydrates, good carbohydrates on there, sweet potatoes and different rices, things like that, to get. them the energy they need because they're doing 2 or 3 a days, so they're going to need that. They have more of the post workout snacks than or even pre ones that than a normal person really needs,
Mhm.
and that's probably the biggest difference is that I don't there's huge amount of supplements out there. People can take them all they want. I don't take a huge amount of supplements, but I do definitely tell our fighters and with that it's always good to have a good protein supplement right after and everything too to get some of the calories back on there, but especially a good post workout one that has some carbohydrates in there as well is always a really good one
Mhm.
to have, whereas a normal person probably doesn't necessarily need that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Is that because just they're probably getting enough calories elsewhere and having a post-workout meal is just going to add to that, take away the value of the workout?
Mhm. Yeah, and I because we get one of the questions we get asked all the time is when to eat on there, and that's I guess that's always been my pet peeve to people is always like, oh, you can't eat at this time, you can't eat at this time, and I'm like, your body does not understand time. Your body
Mhm.
understands awake and sleep. That's it. So you can't give people times because if you give, let's say I say, you say to me like, oh, you can't eat past 7 p.m. I don't get home until 9:30 p.m.
Mhm.
I'm teaching class at 7 p.m. So whoop, I can't eat tonight, you know.
Got
And so
yeah.
it's bullshit. And I don't eat dinner until 9:30 p.m. at night,
Mhm.
you know. So I tell them that I'm like, don't worry so much about when you're eating as much as what you're eating.
Yep. Yeah.
Should you eat a bunch of food and then go to sleep? Probably not.
Yeah, I guess the only thing with the time is, don't let it take over, so where if it's early in the morning, you're grabbing a donut, or if it's late and you don't wanna prep a meal, then you're gonna grab ice cream or a cookie as a
Hmm.
substitute or something healthier, that might take a little more preparation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You do any, of the biohacking stuff with your athletes? I know, like, right now, obviously things like fasting, cold therapy, sauna, all these sorts of modalities are really popular on Instagram. Do you use any of that kind of stuff with your athletes?
Um, Depends. Not so much the fasting and things. I mean, I tell them that stuff. Y- it all depends on the athlete, depends on what their, body structure is and everything too, and how much they'd have to lose. I'm not a big proponent of huge weight drops, of cutting a huge amount of weight or anything like that. I'm not a huge proponent of that. So I keep them pretty on track. But things like saunas and everything too, absolutely. Things like massages, things like stretching, all that stuff too. I definitely do quite a bit of that for my athletes and everything too. But I've tried the fasting, I've tried the intermittent fat, all that stuff too, and that's all works great. But again, it all depends on your schedule.
Yep.
A lot of our athletes that they're not necessarily pro athletes that they do this for a living. So
Yeah.
they're working normal jobs, and so telling them like, all right, cool, I understand that you work from, 5 a.m. to 2 p.m., but you can't eat now until 1 p.m. I know
Hmm.
you've already been up, so it's hard to get that structure in them.
Yeah.
So I don't really have them do too much of that or anything too, unless, if they have to cut weight and things, then we'll get into some of the fasting stuff. But for the most part, I just kind of have them follow our basic guides
Hmm.
and keep pretty on track. Most of our athletes don't have to lose more than like maybe 1 or 2 pounds during cut week.
Oh, that's good. Because you
Yeah.
see guys who had to drop, 8 to 15 pounds and
Yep.
make themselves dry. It
Yep.
looks terrible.
Oh, it does. And I've done it too. I've gone through that. It's not fun. It's not necessarily good for your body. It doesn't give you that much better performance or anything too, just because you want to try and be stronger than that person, but yet you dehydrated your body for a week. So how
Hmm.
much stronger are you really?
Yeah. But when a guy's getting ready to go to a fight and get approaching a cut, what kinds of things can't they eat? Do they have to cut out certain things for those 3 or 4 days before the fight, or How did
Yeah,
did
I
it?
mean, we'll definitely cut the carb content back, just to a very, very minimum of those really thick, just basic proteins and greens, depending again how much they have to lose on there, just so it comes a little bit faster off. Their water intake's still pretty high, but if they have to cut a little bit more, we start cutting that back. Obviously, there's absolutely no sweets whatsoever. Um, I have them. Not that really any of our fighters are too big of drinkers, but I have them cut alcohol back well, well, well before.
Hmm.
Just because that's going to slow any kind of process of cutting and just their training in general on there. And it's steering clear of. I don't really have them have too many nuts and seeds even that week or anything like that. That's going to kind of stay too much, but it all depends on again how much they have to cut. If they have to cut 1 or 2 pounds, really don't got to do much.
Hmm.
That's like maybe the day before or something like that. We just kind of cut out some water, depending on when the weigh-ins are, and then that morning they can pretty much wake up, go to the bathroom, and pretty much be on weight.
Now you mentioned alcohol. What is your philosophy on alcohol with in terms of weight loss, health, and with the fighters?
Yeah, with a lot of them and everything too. I weight loss in general, you know, alcohol, is not a great proponent for it. And everything too. It is going to slow your metabolism. It is going to slow your body down. Hey, it's a downer. You may feel great after doing 3 beers, everything too, but it's technically downing on your body and everything too. So all of our athletes, I try to really steer them clear of it. I don't, I haven't been a big drinker in many, 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 many years. You know, but I also tell them like, is it okay to have a beer every now and then, or a wine every now and then? Absolutely. If you're a person that likes to have wine every single night, maybe cut that back. "Oh, I'd love to have a glass of wine." It's like, okay, have a small one if that's your life, and I'm not going to tell you not to. For
Mhm.
regular people, I mean, too, don't have it be a bottle.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, and everything too. I think one of the problems with the pandemic was that people's alcohol intake just shot up.
Hmm.
And so that's been a big proponent for a lot of our students and everything too, is getting back. And a lot of our athletes, not necessarily as much, but everything too. And I make them pay for it.
Hmm.
Our fighters, I mean, too, if they've gotten drunk and missed a training, I'll pull them from fights at times. I don't care.
Hmm.
I'm like, you're not
Put
going to
them
get the
through
best
hell.
performance. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's not good for your health. It's not good for your opponent. And it's not showing your loyalty to want to compete or anything, too. And that's okay. Just
Yeah,
know.
yeah. If you want to get your ass knocked out, keep drinking. I think the only person I've ever seen that really fighter that could handle the booze and the cigarettes was Manny Pacquiao. Like early in his career, I remember him lighting
Yeah.
cigarettes in the ring and talking about hitting the bar, the night before. But I'm sure there's lots of fighters that can do it, but for the most
Yeah.
part, I mean, detrimental to their performance. So
It is, and I think as especially MMA and in American Army too, as fighting has progressed, and athletes in general have progressed, that has been cut way back than it probably was, like 20 years ago. Hey, I can admit it. When I was, you know, um, very very young and everything too, yeah, I did stuff like that too. Was I in the best shape ever? Absolutely not.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you
Before
know,
I got married, and even when I was still fighting, I drank a lot with my friends on the weekends. I never competed, but did a lot of sparring and stuff on the weekend. And I was, I think, at my heaviest like 170. And then after I got married and quit drinking every night, it was just like the weight just fell off just from
yeah,
that change. Kind of shocking how many calories and how bloated I had become from all those nights out at the bars downtown.
yeah.
Not to mention, sleeping better. I think when you're in that stage of life, you get so used to it that becomes normal. And then after you stop drinking and you see, wow, my everything feels all over better. My sleep is better. My energy is better. My weight's better. Yeah, maybe that was fun, but horrible for me at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's one of those things. Like it seems really really fun at the time, and people ask like, "Oh, do you miss that?" I'm like, not at all. I
Yeah,
don't miss being bloated out. I don't miss not sleeping well or anything too, or just feeling slow and sluggish. It's like
yeah,
no, like But again, if it's been a while, am I gonna have a beer every now and then? Sure.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I like to have a couple nights a week, just sit out on the porch or hang out with my wife, drink a little wine. But yeah, I wouldn't want to go back to that lifestyle. Well, not to mention you wouldn't live very long if you do it. We all
No,
know that the effects of it are horrible long term, especially. It's not sustainable. So
no,
uh,
no, absolutely, and I've seen it that as well as just bad health, and a lot of nutrition, a lot of just habits. I mean, too, just what it did to my family, and just the detriments it's had for so long, and death toll and everything too. And so, I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that.
yeah. Switching over to training, what kind of what is your training philosophy in terms of fitness? It's similar to diet. There's a lot of different things people could do, fads of the day. So, what kind of things do you focus on?
Me personally, and I really too. I focus on athletics more than aesthetics. I can look good, sure, and everything too, but I want to perform. To whatever that means for me, and for our athletes, I mean too. I am very very proponent of just based on athletics, having my mobility be very well, having being strong, being fast, whatever that means to you personally or any to or a person, what it means to me, and being able to do the things that I still want to do. I'm not gonna compete fighting anymore or any two. I can't do that and coach at the same time. And I just don't feel like it anymore. But I still have a competition mindset. So I do, other competitions, what I mean too. I do a lot of races. I do, I'm gonna be doing my second ever marathon pretty soon or two. And so I work very much on the athletics of running and movement to help with that. And I came from a person who didn't really like running, but
Yeah,
now apparently I can't say that anymore. But
yeah,
with how much I do, but I really work in we kind of made that philosophy here is just athletics. If you come here, if you are trying to train and improve yourself, you're an athlete. Doesn't mean you're an athlete. To me, does not necessarily just mean who you see on TV. We have the Olympics going on. Those are elite athletes. Those are the upper echelon to upper echelon. You're an Olympic athlete. That's a whole different class. But it doesn't mean that somebody coming here wanting to improve themselves, move better, everything too, is not an athlete and shouldn't be able to have that mindset and move that way. You know, um, and they can still, and that's why I say like we don't diet. We do better nutrition. The way we train, we have goals. It's very
mhm,
goal centric and everything too. And most of the people I tell you don't make weight goals. You can if you have those and everything too, but don't always make that your thing. Because I just talked to one of my clients the other day and everything too was having that, and the weight hasn't gone down or anything too. Yes, there's other aspects that are going on, but I'm like, okay, cool. Look, you can squat heavier, you can lift heavier, you can run faster. You even told me your clothes are fitting better. So, you know, don't
yeah,
don't be so concerned with just that aspect of it. All these other improvements are happening, and then you're so worried about just this one.
mhm,
You know, and I had one person to be just come to me and they're like, I really want a six pack, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what
yeah,
to do with that.
yeah,
Cool. I'm like, there's a lot of things that can go into that: nutrition, your training, body structure, your genetics.
yeah. As much as people want a six pack, the truth is many people do not have the genetic capacity to have them unless they want to starve themselves or basically stop drinking water for long
Yeah.
periods. That skin really that tight.
Exactly.
I've met a few people who could take their shirt off and see ripped abs, regardless of millions of hours of training and eating clean. I've only met a few guys that actually can obtain that, but
Yeah.
not what the fitness industry likes to tell people. It's the same with, getting really gigantic muscles.
Yeah.
The mainstream fitness industry will let everybody believe that that's attainable if you follow a certain diet and you eat massive amounts of protein shakes. And truth is, like, most guys genetically can't do it, and they'll max out their muscular capacity after 6 to 12 months of really hard training. You could probably
Yeah.
get lean and stronger, but actually putting on muscle is pretty hard. Your body doesn't want to get massive. It's the
Mm.
same. It doesn't want to get overly lean either. It wants to stay alive.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You want to be 200 pounds. It's just trying to keep you alive. And there's a metabolic cost to all that. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. What about for a first time client or anybody that's listening to this that wants to get back into shape? Where would you suggest they start? And where would you suggest focus both on from their fitness standpoint and nutrition?
Um, yeah, we'll go with the fitness aspect first. Is whether you can get a coach or not, because I never tell somebody that they have to spend a huge amount of money on things or anything. Too is start small. Start small. Depending on what your fitness level. Let's say it's just an average person. They haven't worked out for, or maybe never, or maybe it's been years and years. Start small. Maybe you live in an environment that you can just walk around the block a couple times. Start there. Start walking. Just be active on there. Don't worry about, well, I want to do 50 push-ups and 50 squats and 50 sit-ups. Nope. Why don't you just try and walk for a quarter mile or walk for 30 minutes? Stuff like that. Start small. As that progresses, then you can start adding in body weight stuff and everything too. But that's one of my biggest things is just start being active. Don't go gung ho like, all right, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to start doing this, this, this. I'm going to go on in everything too, because you're going to last a week.
I'm joining CrossFit tomorrow after not training 10 years. I'm going to start overhead pressing.
Exactly, and everything too. And even our people here, if you can't, if you're starting with me first, or even with the each or everything too, if you can't squat, I'm not giving you weight. You can't body weight squat or anything too. And if you're, doing that stuff too, there's no reason to give you a weight. We're not going to just be all of a sudden be like, all right, cool, overhead squats right now. I know you couldn't just do a body weight one, but we're just going to give you one of the most difficult types, you know. Um, think of progression and be never be sad or never be disappointed if you have to regress, especially during this time. I mean, you know, yes, I kind of kept up my training to a point during the pandemic. Was it at what it was before? No. Literally the day before, the week of our closure, I did a marathon and I deadlifted for the first time 405 pounds.
Mhm.
I can't do that now. So I had to
Yeah.
build back up because pretty much everything got shut down. Everybody gets depressed. Everybody got all that stuff too. So you got to be okay with regressing. And don't
Yeah.
think about what you could do then. Think about what you can do now and progress from that.
Yeah.
If I focus on so much, well, in high school, I could squat 400 pounds. Okay. Cool. That was 20 years ago. What do you like? What does that matter? What can you do now?
Yeah.
Think about that and where you want to be now, not where you were, where you want to be now. And that's always a good thing to focus on,
Yep.
especially with
What-
your nutrition
Yep.
too. Nutrition can be the same way. Start small. Hey, drink an extra bottle of water this week, every single day. How much water do you take? Okay, cool. Cut out a soda. You drink 3 sodas and maybe 2 bottles of water a day. All right, cut out one of those sodas this week, replace with a bottle of water. Next week, we'll cut out the other soda. Boom, boom. Add veggies. Start slow. Don't go gung ho into a diet. All right, cool. I haven't eaten right for 6 years. I'm going to do keto this week.
Mhm.
It's like, man, that's going to kill your body for one, and it's going to kill you mentally.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you remember, this goes back 6, 7 years, but Dave Asprey had started the bulletproof coffee phase, and it seemed like everybody around me went from eating breakfast to drinking coffee with massive amounts of butter and coconut oil every morning, thinking that they were
Yep.
gonna, and like, oh, I got this magic diet thing, and they just went, instead of starting small like you're talking about, they went from 0 to I'm going to drink 900 calories of fat in the morning, and many people didn't
Yeah.
lose the weight they were thinking of, and it wasn't sustainable. Then within a couple of months, they were back to eating the way they were and stuff, rather than just trying to adjust their habits and their lifestyle slowly. It was, what's this bad thing or cool thing I can do? I think the latest, thing that we're seeing, and is carnivore diet. We went from a vegan obsession not too long ago to the, well, I'm going to cut out all this. If all I eat is meat, I'll be healthy.
Yeah.
Rather than, like, if I think if people get confused by all this stuff, and I like your approach of start small, cut the low hanging negative fruit out first, and you probably see great results just from doing that
Mhm.
without.
And you'll sustain because you're creating these habits that are healthy habits. Just changing right away, that, yeah, maybe 1% of the people that works for, but that's 1%. Don't pay attention to that, and changing those healthy habits are going to help probably 99% of the people. Just mini habits. Yep, change this, change this. All right, cool. One of the, and it wasn't, I didn't come up with this, but from holistic healthcare right too was the, what's the group now? I actually have it in here. Um, they came up with a whole thing of like, hey, every single week, try a new vegetable. Just one, every single week. Just pick, whether you're at the store, whether you are at the farmer's market, or anything like that. So, integrative nutrition, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, kind of this one thing, and I went there for, I never got certified there, but uh, every single week, just try one new vegetable. Just one new vegetable. Doesn't matter. That's 52 different vegetables you've tried in a year.
Anthony, can you hear me? I appear to lost audio on mine. Can you check
Oh,
and see if you're muted?
nope. I can hear you now. All
Yeah,
right,
I
Matt.
got a little. The audio had dropped off there. I wanted to make sure. So I don't know. Just in case we lost sound for a minute, would you mind just backing up? And you were talking about picking a new vegetable every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, through something I learned years back from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and they kind of came up with this concept and helped me on there too. Was um, you know picking a new vegetable every single week, just one every week. Maybe you've never really tried broccoli. Boom, there it is, chard, whatever it is. That week, pick one new vegetable. By the end of the year, you've tried 52 new vegetables. And you are getting into the habit of one, trying new things, and two, eating vegetables. Because you're focused on that. And you're gonna find things, yeah, you don't necessarily like, you know, but you're gonna find a lot of things you do like. And then you can start adding them into different things as well. One always good thing is that creating healthy habits. If you're in, a big thing of creating that, and also trying new things. There's never a bad thing trying new things. Well, new healthy things. I mean, um, that's always a good habit. I mean, I seen in my family and a lot of other people, they get into at such a young age so many super bad habits, and especially with nutrition, and not trying new things with it. And I've made dinner for nephews and things, and they've been like, "Oh, I don't like that," and I'm like, "I know for a fact you've never eaten this, so you can't say you don't like it."
Oh yeah, I got 3 kids myself. That's a constant struggle. They tell me I don't like that. Same thing. You've never,
Yeah.
yeah, you had it. but I actually might steal that and use that with my kids of, even if I have to bribe them with a couple bucks, but say, we're going to try a new vegetable every week. I'll let
Yeah.
them pick. That way they can at least say they've tried it.
Mhm.
The fear of the unknown. It's amazing to even see adults like that.
Oh yeah.
You can't try eel. And you say, why? I'm not, no reason. I just can't try it, other than fear of it might taste gross. And no, they know it won't kill them, but they
Yeah.
still use to even just go down the path of exploring and having the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a weird fear, and and I don't know. I never had that before. I don't necessarily think of doing that all the time, but I've never really had that. So it's just like, if it's not going to kill me or hurt me, who cares? I'll try it. Am I going to guarantee I'm going to like it? No, but I'm also not going to guarantee I'm not going to like it.
Yeah. With
I mean,
I mean, this brings up an interesting question. Is not necessarily related to nutrition or fitness, but being a fighter coach. Um, I know personally, when I first started fighting, I had an irrational fear of sparring that took me a long time to get over
mhm.
before I got in the ring. And before I got in the ring and found out it's really not as sticky as you think it is. So, in terms of fear in general, what is your approach to getting not just your fighters, or what approach do you take to just getting over fear and addressing fear? Because most of it's irrational and it's just all between our ears.
It is, and it's a difficult thing. I mean, I yeah, I mean, doing stunts and everything too. It's been hard for me not to, like you're afraid at times, but you just kind of have to do it because the more afraid you are of something, the more actually that thing will hurt you. And you get that irrational fear on there. Me personally, how I deal with it, I kind of have a step of, what is it something that's going to kill me? Is it something that's to really hurt me? Um, and also, trying to think of the words to use, but you go through this process in your head of just like why, kind of solidifying why am I actually afraid of it, or anything too, and for me, it's pretty quick to be able to get over that, and just be like, "Nope, well, oh well, I want to try new things. I want to do things. So I just got to get over it,
Yeah.
And that's for me personally. I always think of the, there's always a best outcome and everything too. And I think of that. Yes, bad things can happen, but if I really want to try something, I want to try new things and be the person I want to be, then I just got to go for it and just do it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt. Yeah, it's gonna suck, but hurt at times. And I mean, too, for our I kind of try and get that mindset into our people here. I mean, too, and one of them is also just with our sparring aspect and everything too. That one's usually pretty easy because we start slow.
Hmm.
We start with tactics. We start with just learning how to react with people. Learning. You have the gear on, everything too, and you're not sparring. You're just doing like here. I'm giving you specific things to do, just back and forth, get that in your body, get used to, oh, this is what it feels like when I'm shielding something and the kick comes in. Okay. And gradually gets a little harder from that and everything too. And that's helped the people get over the sparring thing um, pretty fast on there
Yeah.
because they're used to those tactics right away, and they kind of go because if you're kind of used to it and used to taking impact. Now we don't go old school, we're just smack each other in the face and stuff because that's dumb.
Hmm.
But you get used to impact on the
Yeah.
body, on with your defense and everything too, in a safe environment and stuff. And once you're used to that, then it's fine
Oh yeah.
from there.
I haven't been able to get my boys to do martial arts, but I'm a huge proponent of it for the sake of mental health. And what I think about mental health is there's a lot of value in having people have their hands on you,
Yeah.
being used to being hit and learning that if I'm comfortable in this situation, I can be comfortable in anything. I can go into a meeting at work, and that's going to be a cakewalk compared to getting in front of somebody who's trying to hurt me. And like you said, even in a controlled, safe environment where you can build up, use fighting as like a hormetic stressor to
Mhm.
build up the ability to handle stress and mental, just anything in life. It's a pretty powerful tool. And I think that wonder if that's where, karate instructors and other martial artists, talk about discipline and the value of it. It seems aside from the self-defense aspect, that's the most valuable thing you can provide people.
Yeah.
Uh, ability
Yeah,
to be
that
able to,
confidence, self-esteem, everything too, to build yourself up to
yeah.
handle difficult situations.
Mhm.
You know, I always told you that my the, my two favorite, or I think two of the best sports or activities or anything too that young people can do to help them with that is either martial arts or wrestling.
Mhm.
Again, you are used to working as a wrestling and even martial arts. You're used to working as a team because you do in your classes and your structure and everything too. But when you compete, it's all one on one.
Mhm.
It is an individual team sport. You train as a team, you work as a team, whether it is martial arts, whether it is wrestling. But when you compete, and even when you spar or things like that, it is one on one. So you're getting used to working together as a team environment. Then yet you are also getting used to having to work on your own
Mhm.
in that ability, and that helped me through doing those types of things help me always succeed in regular business. Not necessarily the one here has helped a lot too, but regular business when I worked regular, I guess people say like regular 9 to 5 type jobs and everything too, I always moved up pretty fast because I still had that mentality
Mhm.
going forward. I can work in a team environment, I can lead a team environment, but I can also do things on my own. And I had no fear of any of that stuff because I've already faced worse
Yeah, for
than
sure.
this is. Well, this project has to be done. Okay.
Mhm.
If I don't do it right, is someone going to kick me with their shit in the face? No? All right. I'm not too scared of that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I know we've talked about all kinds of things other than your book, but for those that want to follow you, are interested in the book, where can they learn more about you and follow your training and different things?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Instagram, we post quite a bit on there. It's just Brood9 altogether on Instagram. That's probably one of the better places because all of our stuff on Facebook pretty much comes from Instagram, anyways. So if you're, depending on which you follow, we have a website brood9.com that has a bunch of info for us here, as well as we're adding much more onto that about the book and the availability and everything too, since we're getting more and more of it in stock now and it's becoming more available out there. So I'd say those are the main places. I don't really use Twitter too much. Um, so I'd say those are probably the main ones. Brunei.com. Our Instagram is what most people, I'd say, probably find us by and everything too. And that's where we do a lot of our, as you see all the time, our Muay Thai videos, our sparring videos, all this other stuff, fight stuff, a lot of stuff about nutrition in our book. We do have YouTube pages, which we are going to start opening up more and more as
Cool.
well.
Awesome. Well, as always, I'd love to carry the book for you. I think it
Yeah,
well with what we're doing, so we could talk more about that offline. Would also love to have you as a contributor if we could, promote each other. Um,
absolutely.
love working with you, Anthony. And
Yeah,
just a reminder, make sure you check out wildwarriornutrition.com if you're interested in learning about any of our products and getting. We have a new grass-fed beef liver capsule that is now available, and we also have these sweet grizzly bear shirts
nice.
available. Oh, so Anthony, shoot me your shirt size and a good address for you, and I'll send you one after we're done.
Absolutely. Thanks. So definitely.
No problem, man. Well, it's great to talk to you.
Cool.
And to connecting again in the future. Thanks for taking some time early in the morning. Me.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, thank you very much for having me and everything too. Great catching up, Michael, and everything too. And absolutely, been a blast. And, I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah. All right. Well, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Sounds good.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.